You spent all this time making the perfect video, planning, shooting, getting into the editing room, and then you realize, I have made a terrible mistake. A mistake that could have easily been fixed if you knew what to look for in advance. I'm Sydney with Sushi Video, and I'm the how the heck do I make a video lady. In this episode, we're going to go over the top mistakes that my clients have actually made, and I've documented them. They're not too pretty, with the biggest one being an $80,000 mistake. So the point of this video is to make sure that you don't do the same. Starting with the first one. You've wrapped filming, you get the footage into the editing software, and then you look at it and you're like, everything is wrong. The footage looks too orange or too blue. It's in slow-mo when it shouldn't be. The video stutters like it's lagging, or the most common, it's out of focus. Unfortunately, in this case, there is nothing that you can do except for reshoot it, which sucks. And it comes down to one thing. You had the wrong camera settings. There are a million different settings and combinations that you can do. Every tiny little thing from ISO to shutter speed to color temperature to picture profile, these all have an effect on how the footage turns out. And if you're not familiar with basic videography or even the type of camera that you're using, this can go bad very quickly. A lot of YouTubers in their first year talk about how they figured this out through trial and error, but if you're a marketing director or working for a bigger company or a solopreneur, you may not have the time and money to make these mistakes. You want to make sure that you have the correct camera settings, and I can't tell you what those are because they are unique and different to every situation, every camera, and every type of video that you're shooting. It's a lot. I see it all the time, and unfortunately, there just really is no saving the footage. And I don't mean that to be dramatic. I mean, you really can't change something that's out of focus. You can maybe save something that's a bad color temperature, but if it's the wrong shutter speed or something like that, you just have to reshoot it. Just scrap it and start over. It's a big mistake. Can the camera add 5 pounds to you? Yes, it can. This is not something that's silly or made up. It really is true, and this has to do with the type of lens that you're shooting on. Most people will just say something generic like, oh, a 50mm lens is a portrait lens, and then they'll use it on you and you'll be like, why do I look bigger in the face? Like, why does my face look round, or why do my features look funny? And this is because everybody's facial features are unique. Maybe you've got a deeper brow. Maybe you have a hooded eye. Maybe you have a longer nose or like a flat face and you don't have high cheekbones. Everybody's facial features look completely different, and you have to pick the right lens to match that, or else it does add 5 pounds to the camera. Now, the next question is, how do you do this? And the answer is, once again, I can't tell you because I don't know what you look like or what the lighting is like. So a good cinematographer will be able to look at your features, see what the lighting is, and pick a lens that looks very flattering for you. Right now, what I'm shooting on is about 28mm. This looks pretty true to real life. But if I were to, for example, zoom in on something more like this, then you're able to see how it makes my face a little round. Like, let's look at a side-by-side shot here. And you tell me which is the more flattering version of this. Now, wide lenses can distort the face. I'm Japanese American. I have kind of unique features. I've got higher cheekbones, but not really deep set eyes. And I actually have a pretty straight, larger nose, like more of an American nose, but I also have like a rounded Asian face. So it's an interesting combination. I think it's actually difficult to photograph, but a good videographer or photographer will know that, and they'll work with you to make sure that something looks really flattering for you, tailored to you. They won't just like throw you in with every other ethnicity and age and gender on the planet, because something has to be tailored to you. Sometimes we get so caught up in those visuals that we forget about the audio. Audio is 50% of the experience. Studies have shown that most people will tolerate kind of bad video, but they will not tolerate bad audio. So mistake number 3 is not prioritizing your audio. Here's some common audio mistakes I encounter. Peaking audio that sounds like this. Echo from placing the microphone in the wrong location. Not recording 2 people on different audio channels so that one is louder than the other. And exporting the final video in stereo instead of mono, so voices or music only plays out of a single speaker. And just like with bad video, there's really no way to save bad audio. I mean, you can try and fix it in post and you can work with it a little bit, but ideally, you just reshoot the whole thing. So don't forget about your audio. I recently had a client get a cease and desist letter from Disney, of all people, because they were using copyright music and footage. Look, we live in a world of social media where we're able to use fun pop songs over our shorts and our reels when we post to TikTok, and we forget that a lot of this stuff is copyright, and we need to be very careful with how we use it. Actually, I think the Department of Labor just did this recently. They had a Coca-Cola product and a Ford Bronco in their advertising. Someone's gonna get in trouble for that. Let me just say it that way. So you can't just product place things or use other people's stuff without their permission. Don't do it. Don't get the cease and desist letter. I'm not a legal expert. You should probably consult somebody who knows more about that, but I can tell you that it is illegal. If you post something to YouTube, you will get like a monetization strike, you will get a copyright strike, you will get a warning. Now, how do you get around this? You can use copyright-free footage. It's called royalty-free stock footage, and you can get that on hundreds of different websites. Same with music, or you need to hire a crew to go get that footage yourself, or you can hire a composer to make custom music for you. If not, you have to pay the licensing fee, and that could be thousands of dollars. I don't know what the cost is, but those are your three options. Okay, here is the $80,000 mistake that I mentioned before, and this comes with hiring a cheap crew. I used to work with a dermatology company, and they did an annual event with training for their PAs every single year. Each of the breakout rooms were recorded, and they would turn these into training videos for ongoing education for their PAs. Overall, the package, it was like 3 to 5 days of events, all the editing, all the recording, and this would be an $80,000 package at the time. This is a couple years ago. One year, they decided to go with a smaller company who bid $15,000 to do the project in its entirety. But 1 year later, we got a phone call from the client, and they were like, hey, we'd like to bring you back on board, and we actually need to hire you to fix some stuff now. So a couple things here. 1, low quality delivery. 2, incomplete delivery. And 3, it hurt their reputation because they were using this materials for ongoing education. So it made them look incredibly unprofessional, late, disorganized. Overall, it ended up being more than $80,000. It was the $15 plus the $80,000 plus additional cost to reshoot. So overall, I think they lost something like double than if they had just hired my team to begin with. So it's really unfortunate that they had to learn their lesson that way. But moving forward, they did work with us, and we had a good relationship because we were delivering on time, complete, and without any stress. They knew they were just taken care of. So one mistake might be, if you have a project where there's a lot of stakes and you don't want to ruin your reputation, go with a professional crew and don't go cheap. As we just saw, a lot of that dermatology footage was lost, and it comes down to one key mistake that a lot of cheaper video crews do, and it's not backing up the footage multiple times. What I do is a system that I just call it the glass slipper, you know, in Cinderella, where they're like, oh no, we broke the slipper, what will we do? And then she's just like, I have the other one. You want to make sure that your footage is backed up, not just once, not just twice. I do it 3 times. The third one is to the cloud. It is a big expense. To me, that's just the cost of doing business, but I know a lot of smaller video crews are like, we can't afford that. You know, we're barely getting paid $500 to do this shoot. So they only take the SD cards home. And if something happens to it in that time period, you better hope that that footage was backed up. I always back up on site to an additional hard drive. When I get home, it goes on to hard drive number 2. Technically, that's the third backup, the SD card, the hard drive, my home hard drive, and then the cloud. That's 4 backups because I don't want there to ever be a case where the client is like, where's my footage? And I'm like, I don't know. I often seen videos done with 1 camera. I highly recommend 2 cameras. Why? There's a couple reasons. 1, let's say your camera A goes out of focus. Thank goodness you have camera B backing you up so you've got the shot no matter what. Or if something malfunctions on one of the cameras, you have the second camera as backup. Now, ideally you have both of them because when you go into the editing room, you can cut between the 2 to cut out ums or mistakes or blinks or movements or pauses. So it gives you more flexibility. The cost of having 2 cameras on set usually offsets the cost of savings in the editing because you can edit, I don't know, maybe 4 times faster when you have multiple cameras because it allows a lot of flexibility and problem-solving options in post. For a small company, having two cameras is just way too cost inefficient. They can't afford it. But for me, I always bring two cameras on set. That way we have multiple options in editing. That is not the situation that you want to have to deal with. You want a crew that takes their job seriously. So when something goes wrong, they've got the backup camera there. I've done this so many times where one camera, I don't know why, it just wouldn't turn on. Client was like, what's going on? I was like, oh, the camera didn't turn on. And she was like, do we have to cancel the shoot? No, it's fine. I need 120 seconds to unclip this camera. The other camera is sitting there. It's already set up with the same settings. It's already been built. I just literally need to put it on the tripod. And she was like, oh, hire a crew that brings backups. You know that black and white board they hold in front of the camera before they record? Actually, 1 second, I'll bring one over. I had to erase my client's name because I signed an NDA. This is the slate where you see like scene whatever, take 3, marker, and then they snap it and then they go running off and then they're like, action. So why is this so important? Well, having a slate, again, saves you time in the edits. What you do is, as you're recording on audio and camera, in order to match the audio to the camera, you match using this. You hold this in front of the camera right before you record. And this one is the last one that we shot for the day was scene 3G. So you'll mark on the script where scene 3G is. That way, when you're in the editing room, you're not guessing. You're not like, I wonder what this clip is about. I mean, it's up to you. You can sit there and rewatch all 60 clips and decide what you want to edit. Or you can look at this and be like, that's right, 3G was the ending, and we did 2 takes of it. And the first take sucked, but take 2 was great. So you're going to write on your script, ignore take 1, go to take 2. You don't need to watch the 3 minutes of take 1 because you know it's bad. Your poor editor is going to have to sit there and watch a bunch of useless footage if you don't slate. So you want to make sure that you're slating, lining your script, and this saves you so much time, and it really doesn't cost you much. That slate, this thing is like, I don't know, $20 on Amazon, okay? Pay $20, slate properly, have somebody taking notes, and that will save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in the edits. Every time I've been over time and over budget on somebody else's crew, not my crew, it has been for this one reason. And this 100% decides if you even have enough footage at the end to make a video. And this is the shot list. So a lot of people go into these videos and they're like, here's my script, let's film it. And they're inventing the shots as they go. Then in the edit, they realize, oh, we never filmed that part. 1, the slating helps with that. But 2, you don't have time to sit around and be like, should we capture this wide?
We're getting this in a wide shot, right? Of course we're getting in a fucking wide.
But the instructional video said, push this one specific button. And we never got a close-up of it. If you planned in advance, you could have just filmed that on set with a close-up shot. These are all really critical, and you should be thinking about this before you even step foot on set. Sets go really long, and they go late, and they go over time and over budget because you have a lot of people standing around trying to make decisions. The decisions should have already been made. You should be 80% there, and then you can adjust about 20%. But you should not be figuring it out on set. Set is for filming, not planning. It's easy to get caught up in the whole like camera and audio, but a lot of times we forget about the props, the costume, the hair, and the makeup. For example, if you dress somebody in houndstooth, herringbone, pinstripes, or plaid, there's something called a moire effect, and it will actually look really weird and distort on camera. A good videographer or cinematographer or director will know not to do that. You're gonna have to last minute figure something out, whether that's buying them another blazer or they borrow somebody else's on set, because it's literally going to look crazy on camera and you don't want that. Another one is face shine. It's right here. It is the CoverGirl Clean Matte, and you powder your face so that you don't look shiny and sweaty and greasy on camera. Nobody wants that. They want to look really nice. Here's an example from that dermatology one, the before and after. The other crew didn't powder her face. That's a very simple fix. And then you can see when I filmed it, we powdered her face. I made her look great on camera. It's small little things like that that have a huge effect on looking professional, looking clean, looking good on camera. The next mistake is not booking enough time. As I mentioned, time on set is crucial. As much as you can plan in advance, please do, and also give yourself some buffer time. Don't say, if we work really fast, we can get this done in 8 hours. Just give yourself 10 hours. It's okay. It's better to do that than to try and rush everything, because the more you rush, the more you'll make mistakes. You might accidentally unplug that microphone. You might forget to change batteries on that lav pack. You might forget to change the settings on your camera, and then everything looks weird. The more you rush, the more you'll make mistakes. So give your crew and yourself a little bit of grace and say, we're going to book a 20% buffer in time. And you know what? If we wrap early, great. And if not, we've got a little bit of buffer time. No mistakes were made. Nobody hurts themselves. We're not rushing. We're not fumbling. And we get it done. If you do hire a professional crew, know that they are professionals and they've got you. Another mistake that I see clients do all the time is being way too controlling over their film crew. Look, I get this. This is very important to you. If you're working for a company as a director of marketing and you've brought in a film crew and they mess up, I get it looks bad on you. A poor video is a reflection of you doing your job correctly. And while film crews can just walk away from this and they're like, oh, maybe we lost the client, your job and reputation in your company is on the line. So it's really important that a good product is delivered. But this comes down to hiring correctly. If you hire a cheap crew, kind of like that dermatology group, it will reflect poorly on you. Now, if you hire a professional crew, they should be almost an extension of you and have your best interests and needs in mind. And then they'll go forward and do a really great job. When I see clients be really controlling over their film crew, I know a couple of things have happened, and it's pretty much trauma. It is trauma. Maybe a past crew has been super wishy-washy. Oh, well, I don't really, you tell me what you want. You tell me what to do. And so the client has had to step up and take direction over this crew who should know what they're doing. Or another one, they've had a really pushy crew. This is the way we do things in the industry. Or the crew has seemingly been like, oh yeah, we're going to do a great job, and then completely failed to deliver on the final product. In some form or another, there's a little bit of trauma from them of being like, I had a bad experience with the film crew. It's going to take a little bit of time to build trust with them. So what I try and do is just be very calm, be a good leader, and tell them their options and be like, yes, we can do that. However, I want you to know what the end result's going to be. We've got the time because I'm super organized and I have a shot list and we already built the camera and there's no problems. So we can do it twice. Why don't we do it your way and mine? And that's a good middle ground. Then the client feels like they're being heard and understood, but you have to build that trust. Some crews get so offended when the client tries to control them and I see them on Reddit. Oh, this client is driving me nuts, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, part of that is on you to step up and be a leader and be calm and to guide the client and to give them their options and not say, yes or no. The world isn't black and white. There is a middle ground of saying, yes, and here's the result. I leave it up to you to choose. It's just how people run their crews. Some people have different personalities that collide. You got to be more like a capybara and just kind of go with the flow. The next mistake, speaking of film crew complaining on Reddit all the time, and I'm like, guys, chill. They complain about how clients don't know lingo on a film set. I see this all the time with clients where they're on set and they're like, I need this result and I don't know how to communicate what it looks like. But it looks like this. Can you do this? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a crane shot that we go up from like 3 feet over here and then we transition in. And they're like, that, whatever you just said, I want that. So we have to understand that clients don't understand all the lingo. You are watching this video probably because you're learning about video production. And if I were to say something like, yeah, we're going to put our boom op on an apple box and they're going to extend out over the butterfly that we have in the corner and we won't get too much reflection of sound. So we're going to be able to use that with a mixed lavalier mics and then mix down and post so that we have a 2-channel setup and then we can see which one is better to, cancel out echo. That's a lot. We don't expect you guys to know everything, but it would help if you guys do learn some of the lingo. Maybe that's just from doing a lot of projects, but I'm also going to create a whole set of videos where I teach you guys the lingo, and that helps. I think where clients of mine have gotten a little frustrated is they use the wrong terminology, and then me, without realizing they're using the wrong terminology, I do exactly what they ask for. So for example, they'll say something like, can't pan over to this? Pan in camera terms is you look left and right, horizontally. I didn't realize they were pointing to something up. They're just like, can you pan over to the thing over there. And I'm just like, where? And they're like, up. And I'm like, oh, that's called a tilt. You want me to tilt up and down to look at it. So sometimes they give wrong direction by accident and they do get frustrated. And I understand why they're frustrated, but I think it would help to learn a little bit of lingo. So one mistake is clients coming on set without doing any sort of research and then getting frustrated when we do exactly what they're asking for, but it's not what the client had in mind. Imagine you're on set of a cooking show and you're just like, deep fry that. Somebody takes and dumps it in a vat of oil and you're like, no, the deep fry button water. And you're like, boil? No, yeah, boil. That's boiling. If we put in oil, that's deep frying. There are certain terms for certain things. So help yourself out by learning some of the lingo so you can communicate with your crew and we can deliver the best product for you. But sometimes we don't know, so please be patient. And if you've managed to avoid all these mistakes, bravo. And if you're ready and you shot your video and you're just like, okay, it is time to post. We made no mistakes. We got through the edits. It looks great. What do I do? You're going to want to watch this next video to see how to get 10 times more engagement, because if you just hit post, nothing's going to happen. You're skipping the critical steps. And that's in this next video. I'll see you over there. Bye.